What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host, and here at RedBeard Outdoors, I talk about faith, family, fitness, and the outdoors. You might notice today, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, I don't have a microphone in front of me. I can freely use my hands. I am testing out some new microphone systems and things along those lines because I want to make sure that you guys are able to get the best experience possible. And I feel like I can do gear reviews, especially a lot better with a microphone that is attached here or remotely, rather than having the big microphone here in front of me, kind of blocking, obscuring the view. So today we're going to be talking about my arrow build with the RIP XVs from Victory. It's a 300 spine. I'm going to go over why I chose that over maybe a heavier spine and what the purpose of these arrows are going to be, etc. But before we get into that, guys, for those of you that are new, I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks so much for tuning in. This channel and podcast has been growing consistently because of you. I really appreciate it. If you like this, definitely like the video. If you're listening to the audio only version, definitely follow the podcast. Leave a review. It helps a ton. And throughout, I'll do random giveaways to people that leave reviews. So stay tuned for that as well. For those of you that have been tuned in for a while, thank you so much from the beginning to now. And as we continue to grow, I look to bring to you amazing conversations on Saturdays. As you know, every other Thursday throughout this year, you'll be getting the Why First Phorm Outdoors from different individuals from the East Coast to the West Coast, north to south, different, bass fishermen is someone that we've had on, to Western hunters, to whitetail hunters, and everything in between, guys. We just want to invite you to come join us at First Phorm and First Phorm Outdoors to find a good community of individuals that really wants to see you grow. So with that being said, today's podcast is brought to you by First Phorm Outdoors, and I definitely want to give them a shout out, them and Victory Archery. With First Phorm, guys, my favorite snacks for on the go are the protein bars or the meat sticks. Guys, I'm telling you, you won't find anything better for you on the go in a gas station. I definitely want to check those out. I'll leave a link down below so you can get free shipping on any order over $75 for life. So definitely go check that out. And when you go and you order from there, not only will you get amazing supplements or nutrition information through the emails that we send out, if you choose to go and get the app all the way through the month of January. If you make a purchase, you get free access to the First Phorm app for 30 days. You get a one-on-one advisor. You get nutrition coaching. You get information galore. So it's not just a cookie cutter app. You get workouts, etc., catered to you and what you need for your goals. So go check that out. If you're just looking to order some snacks or protein, feel free to reach out to me. Send me an email. I'm always happy to respond and help you guys with that. But you're also supporting me here at the channel so that I can continue to bring you these podcasts with guests, with gear, and other items. So I appreciate that support as well. And then, like I said, it's brought to you by Victory. They are a partner of the show, and I will be shooting Victory arrows this year through 2024. I chose to work with them over some other companies simply because I've used their arrows on every single animal that I've killed in my short archery career. And I love how easy these arrows are to tune in my bows, how stiff, how durable, how everything that's good about an arrow, how easy they are to pull out of a target for the most part. Some of my older arrows, the coating has worn off for people that have shot with me. But for the most part, guys, they are the slickest arrows to be able to pull out of a target due to their ice coating. And again, these things are fantastic. So I'm going to go over with you today this build of the RIP XVs in the 300 spine. So there's a lot of debate online about whether or not you should go heavy, whether you should go light, whether you should go in the middle. For the most part, ever since I started, I've tried to stay in that 450 range. 450, I think the highest I've been is like 470. And that 450 to 470 range gets me a good speed, gets me good flight with my arrow, a good weight. I feel like the kinetic energy transfers really well. And again, I've never had an issue with any of the arrows that I've shot through animals. Most of them, I want to say all of them, have been pass-throughs. And by pass-through, I mean the broadhead has gone through the other side. And maybe the fletchings got caught on some of them, but there's always been two holes in the animals that I've shot with a bow. A lot of that goes into broadheads that I've chosen, and of course the arrow as well. Now, I usually start with, or I started my very first arrow build was with the VAP, and I did kind of just the 4mm arrow build. That was a great arrow. Then I moved to the RIP TKOs, and the RIP TKOs are a solid overall arrow. They're one of the lightest 5mm arrows and toughest 5mm arrows that you're going to find, depending on the spine. And most of the time I'm in a 300 range. My draw length is anywhere between 28 to 28 and a half. I think I'm like 28 and a quarter, depending on the bow and the string angle, etc. But for the most part, 28 to 28 and a half. And I'm shooting about 80 pounds. Some of my bows are pulling 77. Some of them are pulling 83. It's kind of in that range. And so, except for my target bow with the Shoot Down Pro, that one shoots 60. But any of my hunting arrows and hunting bows are 80 pounds for my hunting bows. So that's kind of giving you a range of why I would go with a 300 spine and then sometimes even a 250. So recently I built or all of last year I used the RIP TKO 250 spine. The reason I went with the 250 is because it is literally 0.1 grain difference between the 250 and the 300 spine, and I was still able to hit with a 125 grain head, a 50 grain insert, and the 3 fletchings on the back, the regular knock, not a lighted knock. I was able to hit right at 450 grains. That's awesome. Out of my Mach 30, that was shooting a little over 300 feet per second. Out of my Mach 34, it's shooting at 293, somewhere in there. And any of the other bows that I've shot it out of, it does amazing. So with that being said, that's the grainage that I've sat at last year. This year, I'm going to mess around with the heavier, which is going to be more of the 480, and that's going to be my VAP TKO with the evolution glue and system that I'll go over in another video. And then I also wanted to have another arrow set up, which is the lightweight arrow, as light as I could go, and bring that to you on some results that I'm getting personally as I'm shooting that arrow. So for the lightest grain arrow that I could get out of a 300 spine was the RIP XVs from Victory. So these right here. Now, these will definitely be going with me to TAC. I'm debating hunting with them. And here's why. Actually, let's start out with the good. So the good. 300 spine arrow shooting at 7.1 grains per inch. That is the lightest 5mm arrow that I could find that was made by by Victory, right? And I looked around at some of the other companies as well. They don't make a 7.1 grain per inch 300 spine 5mm arrow. Correct me in the comments down below if I am wrong on that. So I wanted to go with that. That's dropping almost, let's see, going from 7.1 to, I think it's 8.9 grains per inch for the RIP TKO. So that's already dropping almost 2 grains per inch on my arrow from the 450 grain arrow to this, right? So that's significant. Generally, I cut my carbon to carbon at about 26 and a half, about as short as I could cut it, so that I can, again, get the stiffest arrow possible with the lightest weight possible and be able to put weight where I want it. If I want to add a fletch on the back, if I want to put more weight up front, depending on how I want the arrow to fly. So again, going back to this, the RIP XVs, 300 spine, 7.1 grains per inch. Perfect. I am currently using the AAE knock. I want to say they're the IP5 because I think it lines up with the millimeter of the arrow. But the IP5 knock by AAE. No bushing on the back. And then I'm gonna show you guys what I put up front. Okay. So I've already cut these down to 26.5 inches carbon to carbon, and I'm gonna put an insert right here. The insert that I am choosing is the 30 grain titanium MFJJ, or Podium Archer, I guess is the brand. 30 grain titanium half cert. And I'm going to put a collar on it. That's 15 grains titanium collar from Podium Archer. Now, the reason why I'm going that route is originally I had built this arrow out to be, it was a little over 360 grains, 370. If I just use the 30 grain insert And this arrow, the setup that it is, with 3 fletchings of the AE hybrid 26s, 3 fletchings, no wrap, and the 30 grain insert with a 100 grain head, I was getting about 360, 365-ish grains, which I was like, man, that's going to be a rocket. It's going to be awesome for tack. It's going to be awesome for Mountain Archery Fest. I'm going to have a blast with this thing. And then I went into the bow shop. And again, guys, I'm a newbie. I'm no expert. I'm just sharing with you my adventure, my journey through archery. I went in and I was talking with the bow shop owner as I was cutting these arrows, and he was like, how heavy is your bow pulling? I said, about 78, 80 pounds. He was like, He said, generally, for your bow to be safe, for it to not put a ton of stress on your bow, the average for the industry is 5 grains per pound draw weight. 5 grains of arrow weight per pound draw weight. So for me, averaging at 80 pounds between the bows, that would mean I would have to have at least a 400 grain arrow. So I was like 30 grains underneath that with the setup that I was using. No, 40. I was about 40 grains underneath that with the setup I was using. So with that being said, I had to add some weight somewhere. So I'm going to walk you through what I do here. So for me, I don't do anything too fancy, guys. I use the AE Max Bond. I don't do epoxy and all of that. I do the heated glue or the hot melt for my glue-ins. But for these, I just use a crap ton of glue. Probably more than I should. But I put a bunch of glue on it. There you go. Good coating on it. And then I take the knockout, which I should have done before I put this glue on here. But I take the knockout so the air can escape the back as I'm pushing down on the tip of the arrow, okay? So here we go. Here's the front of the arrow. Put that in. I kind of twist as I'm putting it in just to make sure the glue gets everywhere. Then I find a piece of paper and I push down, or a piece of paper, pad, whatever, and I push down as hard as I can, which is going to create some glue coming out here. And I don't have any paper towels. I didn't plan very well for this, guys. But either way, okay, I'll have to scrape some of that glue off later with a knife. But I just take Q-tip, I'm rubbing off that extra glue there. So I know this thing is pushed down as hard as possible because I've put it all the force that I can into it, and there we go. Lines up great. Now it looks messy. I apologize. I should have been more prepared, but there you go. No spacing. See if I can get that to focus. No spacing between the arrow and the half cert. But you will notice that there is kind of a lip. So I don't get that lip with the RIP TKOs. There's a lip of that half cert and the RIP XVs. So then I take this wonderful collar, which is also titanium, is a 15 grain collar. There you go. Here's the arrow. This is a different arrow. And take the collar, and it slides right in. Now I also push that down. This is pretty simple, guys. Like, this collar and half cert setup are awesome. As long as you don't have any extras like that glue that you saw that I'm going to have to scrape off later, this collar slides on and off pretty easily, which is awesome, and rotates pretty well. The reason why I went with the collar instead of the 50 grain half cert by MFJJ or Podium Archer is because I want that little bit of extra protection. So the collar will go down to here, which adds all that extra protection from the collar around the shaft of the arrow. Here's the big reason for that. So I could have added 20 extra grains by doing the 50 grain half cert instead of 15 with the collar and 30 with the half cert. I wanted extra protection on the shaft. These arrows are a little brittle, which is how, they're allowed to weave the carbon to get it to a point where it's as light as it is. Remember, 7.1 grains per inch on this arrow. Okay, so I needed to add some weight up front, so I had that 15 grain collar, and it adds that protection at the end as this is going to be used at tack for foam, etc. Now, then on the back end, well, I guess on the front here, so this is an arrow that I've fully built out and been shooting. 125 grain head. The podium archer heads that are skinnier don't really fit well with this if you add the collar, but this regular bullet tip or whatever you want to call it, 125 grain head matches up very well with that. And you can see there's some foam in the collar there from where I've been pulling out. But there you go, guys. Now on the back, I did to the right a slight helical. See if I can get that to focus for you guys. Slight helical 4 Fletch AE hybrid. Right there. With those first Phorm Outdoors veins, which are awesome, and then the original first Phorm veins that we had. Orange and white, alternating there. But I had to add 4 in the back to be able to get me over to, it ended up being 406 grains. Total arrow weight on this build, the RIP XV 300 spine. So again, starting from the front, 125 grain head, 15 grain collar, 30 grain half cert up underneath there, 26 and a half inch carbon to carbon, 4 AE hybrid 26s in the back, has a slight offset or helical, and then the IP5 knockback there. Gets me to just about 406, 407 grains per inch. Now, with that, I could drop a fletching and get to like 399. I didn't want to do that. And let me tell you why. The FOC on this arrow, if I didn't have this extra fletching, which I normally run a 3 fletch, if I didn't have the extra fletching in the back, the FOC was going to be close to 20, which for me is a little much. I don't want the entire front of the arrow to be steering the arrow itself, the entire arrow. So I went with a 4 fletch, which will also help with it going so fast. It's coming out of my Mach 30 at 314 feet per second, which is screaming. And yeah, spins great, shoots great, goes through paper just fine. There's the light arrow build. So for those of you that are still tuned in, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. That's what I'm going to be shooting at least for Total Archery Challenge, Mountain Archery Fest. Really excited about it. I am a little concerned about the durability of the arrow. So I'm not going to be shooting groups with this, at least not at close distances. I won't be shooting groups with it. I'll be shooting dots so that I can figure out, where my rights, lefts, ups, and downs are. But outside of that, right now it's coming out 314 feet per second out of my Mach 30, out of the Mach 34. I haven't clocked it yet, but it'll be probably just over 300 feet a second. It's going to be a great arrow for, again, tack. And I might hunt with this thing. So I don't know if I'm going to hunt elk per se, but I might take it on a pronghorn hunt. I might take it whitetail hunting. This thing is zipping. So I'm excited to throw a broadhead on it and see how the Evolution broadheads are going to fly on this. The screw-in Evolution broadheads are going to fly. Super excited about that, guys. But there you go. It's as simple as that for as far as my light arrow build. My lightest arrow build to date, just over 400 grains. And if I was shooting a 70-pound bow, I would drop all of that weight. I'd put a 100 grain front on here. I'd take this collar off. I'd drop a fletching, and I'd quickly be down to 365-ish grains. So that'll be zipping, guys. With that being said, hope you have enjoyed this episode up to this point. And if you have any questions for me, definitely drop them down below. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. It helps way more than you know. What's going on, guys? Here, just wrapping up the video. Thanks so much for tuning in to this light arrow build. And I want you guys to hear it here first. When we hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, we're going to give away a bow. Yes, I'm stoked to do that for you guys. Get it built out. If you're local here, we'll take you into Wild Arrow. We'll get it built out for you. If you're not local, I'll make sure the bow gets shipped to you, get you taken care of. More details on that to come. But guys, let's get this subscriber family up to 10,000 subscribers here on YouTube. before the end of 2024. That's the goal. If we go past that, we'll do more because you guys are giving to me your time, your attention. I appreciate it. I appreciate you keep coming back here to the podcast, to the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on the audio only version, make sure you hop over to the YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, like videos that you enjoy. Give me the feedback. I really appreciate it as we continue to grow. I appreciate you, and I want to give back to you as the subscriber and people that are supporting me over here at RedBeard Outdoors as we continue to grow. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this light arrow build. More to come. It's going to be a great year here in 2024. Have a fantastic day. And of course, get out, live your life, and love it.